Welcome to Governance Minutes, brought to you by the Society of Corporate Secretaries and Governance Professionals, and Knowledge Partner host, Corporate Board Member, along with contributor Thomson Reuters.
Welcome to Governance Minutes. I'm Darla Stuckey and from the Society of Corporate Secretaries. With me today I have Gloria Bowden from the Coca-Cola Company, where she's the Associate General Counsel and Corporate Secretary. Today we are going to talk about the Coca-Cola proxy statement and proxy statement production and printing in general. Many of you may know that Coca-Cola's proxy statement last year was quite bold and new and refreshing to read and to look at. So we thought this is the right time of year to have Gloria here to tell us a little bit about what she went through to make this big change. And the first thing I want to ask her is sort of why they decided to make a change from the many years prior and how that came about. So just tell us a little bit about why you decided to make a change, Gloria.
Great. Well, thanks, Darla, for having me here today. I think like most companies, you view your proxy statement as simply a legal document. And that's how we had looked at it for many years. But we got to thinking about it last year, and we said, this is the one opportunity that we have to communicate to our 1.6 million share owners. And we should use that opportunity, and we should create a document that is better reflective of our brand. Coca-Cola is all about happiness, it's about refreshment, it's about energy, and so we wanted to make sure that our proxy statement reflected that. So we kind of got to talking about what we could do, and we decided to basically start from scratch, to get a new look, to change the way it was written, to change the way it was designed in a way that really communicated and it made it easier for our share owners to find the information they needed, as well as to have a very good experience when reading the proxy statement.
Okay, so what did you do from the beginning? Did you go to a designer? Did you go to a printer? How do you start this process? I mean, from sort of the beginning stages.
Right. We went out to various financial printers, including some of the newer ones, and we asked them what were their capabilities, what could they do around design. We thought about engaging a design firm or contracting out some kind of a design. We ultimately settled on one of the newer financial printers who had some design ideas themselves, and we just started with them. We shared our vision with them. They shared some ideas with us as well, and so we really worked in partnership to develop the look and feel of the document. Okay. And then, of course, we developed the content as we normally would.
Right, the content, which I would say was easier to read than maybe normal too. But let's go back to the formatting and the design.
Yeah.
So you have things like dual column formats, you have a lot of color, you have a lot of underlining, you have something like what I would call text boxes, you even have checks, X's and O's.
Yes.
Talk about some of those things and what you learned about, sort of, they certainly look visually pleasing to me, but I don't know, is that the case, and what does it get you?
Yeah, I think we took every single section in the proxy and we decided what might pop on that page. So instead of a list, when we went through, for example, our do's and don'ts, what we do and what we don't do in compensation, we decided to put checks or we decided to put X's. It gives a point of emphasis for the reader, and it helps them visually go to where you want them to go and understand the message that you're trying to present.
And you would actually, we were talking earlier, you had actually said you did that the year before.
We did. We had done the kind of what we do and what we don't do in compensation in our 2011 proxy statement as well, and it was basically completely ignored.
Nobody got it.
Nobody got it. Nobody said anything about it.
No tax gross-ups ever, and nobody got it.
Right, and then we completely changed the design and got a lot of attention for it.
Oh, that's good.
Even though the substance was basically the same. By changing up how it looked, it really helped emphasize the point we were trying to make.
Okay, and another thing that you and some other companies did last year, which people should be thinking about, I think, is the Proxy Summary. I want to ask you if you got feedback on that, and I also, I know that the SEC was very supportive of people doing summaries in their proxy statements, and I noticed that you actually put in a summary of the summary comp table, so we're now getting summaries, of course without footnotes, but anyway, talk a little bit about that, how you decided what to put in it, how long it should or shouldn't be, a summary shouldn't be too long, and that was new this year, and what feedback did you get?
Yeah, we kind of put ourselves in the seat of our investors. And what is it, if they were voting our shares or were just looking for information about our company, what were the main things that they would want to know, and quickly? Because if you think about some of your institutional investors in particular, they vote a lot of proxies.
Right.
They are very busy during proxy season. We wanted to make it easy for them to find what they needed in order to make decisions. And so we tried to put ourselves, successfully in some respects and not in others, but we tried to put ourselves in their shoes a little bit to say, if I was voting, what would I need in terms of quick and easy access to information? And we did get really good feedback about it.
What was some of the feedback?
Yeah, I mean, one of the biggest compliments we got was that our proxy statement was an easy read.
Right.
And you don't hear that very often with proxy statements.
Right.
And that was a huge compliment to us.
Right.
They also found that the information was easy to find, very understandable. They felt like any issues that they may have with us were readily explained. And that's what's most important, is to really be able to tell the story in a compelling way and in ways somebody can find.
Right.
Because if you don't have the reasons you're doing things easy to find, people aren't going to read them and understand them. And you can't assume you're going to have a chance to talk to your investors during proxy season.
Right.
And so you're going to have to draft your document, assuming you're not going to have the opportunity to have a one-on-one or a face-to-face with people. And so that's why it has to be well-written, easy to read, and easy to find.
And well written. Let's go to that. It was well written.
Oh, thank
typically
you.
Lawyers write these. So did you get
Yes.
any pushback from any of the lawyers when you're trying to do what I would call your plain English or your more simplified, writing style? Did you get any pushback from lawyers? And what did you do if you ever hit a stumbling block?
Yeah, we luckily we're very focused. The team of lawyers who work on this, we're all very committed to really changing the way we did our proxy statement. So we were lucky in that respect. But we did hit stumbling blocks. As you said, lawyers aren't always the clearest writers in the world. And so one of the things we did, what was very interesting, is if we would come across a paragraph that we just weren't doing a very good job explaining, we would go talk to our public affairs people, who tend to write quite a bit and who are used to communicating in a very clear and concise way. So we would go talk to them about what it is we were trying to communicate, get their feedback, ask them to write a few sentences.
Oh, interesting.
And then we would incorporate that into our document. So one of the really big learnings to us was that you've got great people probably in your company who can help you and who would be willing to help you. And you should absolutely utilize them.
And how long does this process take? I'm remembering my days when I was at a public company, and we started early, and we had weekly meetings, and we had many people in a room around a table. It was really proxy drafting by committee. Is that kind of the way you do it too? And
yeah, we actually start in late August or early September for a March filing. So we start very, very early on. And we actually start with a pretty small team. Originally, I think sometimes too many cooks will make it a little bit difficult to have a consistent tone. So we start with one person who has control, if you will, over the document. Lots of people have input, but we have one person. Might be a different person each year, but we have one person who is really in charge of the document. And then we start drafting. We identify the sections that we weren't so happy with. Even though we generally were happy with our proxy statement last year, we've already identified 4 or 5 areas that we think need to be better, more concise. And so we're working on those already this year for our 2013 proxy.
Which we can't wait to see. Let me ask you this. I think I kind of waylaid you on your whole process of, why you first decided to do this, and you do want it to be more of a marketing document. I was struck by, again, the color. I know color is expensive. This is only one color. It's not multicolors. But tell me about the cost. Was it more costly? Did you have to get buy-in for the cost? How did that happen? I also noticed it was shorter. So
yeah, we committed to senior management when we had this idea to change our proxy statement, because sometimes people like to always do how it's always been done.
That's right.
So we went very early in the process to get buy-in from, all the way up to our chairman and CEO about changing the whole look and feel of the document.
And again, your idea was to make it more of a marketing piece. So that was your sell. That was your selling point.
And it was absolutely received just perfectly. They understood that and got it right away. However, I did have to commit to come into at the same budget as the prior year or below.
Okay.
So that became a challenge as well. And I said, okay, we're going to find a way to do it. And one of the ways that was interesting, that was a bit of a surprise to me, is that by going to a dual column format, we reduced our pages by about a third.
Wow.
Which was a bit surprising to me, because not only is it easier to read, but it ended up being shorter. So that significantly reduced printing costs enough to offset the use of color. And the other thing is that the printer that we use did not charge extra for a lot of the graphics. Some things, if we had special requests, they may charge extra for.
Right.
But a lot of it simply became, was part of the package. And so you've got to, in your request for proposal, be very clear about what you might want, push your financial printer about what capabilities they have, and whether or not you can get sort of an all-inclusive price so that you don't have surprises later. But we were able to come in exactly where we wanted to on budget, and it did not cost more. Even though we did do things, I brought it with me. We did do things with color on the front, a very bold Coca-Cola bottle. There's no mistaking whose proxy this is. And on the back, we even took the opportunity to thank our share owners, which was another interesting thing to do. We wanted to say thank you for having trust in our company and to deliver that message as well. And you'll notice we also did some QR codes.
I did notice those QR codes. I was going to ask you about those. I'm glad you raised them.
Not sure how many people voted through these, but
you
can actually vote
through these, and and some of them would actually bring you to the Coca-Cola website, the IR site, where you would find
as well as our sustainability report is on here. So different
things. It's pretty cool. The sustainability report is now reduced to a little QR code.
Exactly. So, we're not sure how much this drove, the retail vote or anything like that.
Right.
But we wanted to be able to give people lots of opportunities to be able to vote in different ways.
Right.
And like I said, as well, be able to share key facts about our company that people may not know.
Right.
And to give them opportunities to be directed to other parts of our company website.
Okay, that's great. So cost worked, and the tell me, did we talk about investor feedback? We did. Did you get was there any specific piece of it that they liked better than others? Did they say you treated compensation really well? Or
Yeah, I think our CDNA this year got probably the best feedback that we've ever gotten from our investors. We happen to have a pretty robust investor outreach program, so we do talk to particular investors and those kinds of things. And one of the things they said is that they didn't need to talk to us as much because they could find what they wanted to know.
That's the goal. That's
the goal. Yes. It is the goal. And
well, when you have bold headings like car and driver, airplane usage, I was really surprised. So I will say, if any of you have not looked at the proxy, you should. But the summary comp table really has no footnotes anymore in this proxy. The footnotes are actually the same font size with the same heading size as everything else. So it is quite easy to read. You've still got the A, B, C, D, E, F, G, H in paren in the caption of the particular paragraph that refers to the footnote that goes with the column. So it's laid out actually quite good, and it does appear as if Coke has nothing to hide and that they are a happy company. So. We really appreciate you being there. Any other tips you would give? I know you've told our members, make sure you talk to your printer, push them on what design services they can offer, think more broadly, go to people outside of maybe lawyers or corporate secretaries, go to your PR, use dual column format, think about dual column format. Anything else any other tips that you think of?
Yeah, one of the things people always ask me is like, gosh, we don't have the resources to, put a pretty Coke bottle on the front, or where did you get this neat graph that you used inside? Use your marketing people too. Okay. Find people that might have graphic design experience in your company. You've got people there, and go to them and say, hey, here's what I'm trying to present graphically, and they may come up with an idea that you in a million years would not come up with. And they can create something for you, and just about every printer will be able to use just about anything you come up with. So go to your marketing people, ask them for help about how you want things to look. Because I think we've tended to be in a little bit of a tunnel in terms of, we can do a bar graph or we can do a pie chart, but go talk to them. Get some of these more creative people than lawyers tend to be. Get them on your side and get them on your team, and you'll really be surprised about what you can get from the results.
It sounds good. Gloria did tell me at the beginning that this is a full company effort.
It is.
Proxy statement, and you can tell. I'm going to ask you one other question that corporate secretaries that I always want to know. Do you read it after it's printed?
Absolutely.
You do?
I do. Not everybody does.
I was going to say, do you ever find typos?
Occasionally. I will admit I have not yet found one in last year's, but we also do as part of the process, and I know lots of people do, we read it out loud a minimum of 3 times. before we go to print.
To someone.
To each other, yeah.
To
We
each
sit in a
other,
room and we read it out loud, and that's usually where you find things. But
Yeah.
yeah, I do. I can't help myself. I do go back and read it after the fact.
You're a true corporate secretary. Okay, well, I want to thank you so much for being here, Gloria, and thank you for joining us on Governance Minutes. Make sure you watch next month, too. Thank you.
Join us again next time for Governance Minutes, brought to you by the Society of Corporate Secretaries and Governance Professionals, and Knowledge Partner host, Corporate Board Member, along with contributor Thomson Reuters.